So I have a memo from God. This is God. I will be handling all of your problems for you. I do not need your help. So have a nice day. So this last couple of months, we've been looking at the idea of spiritual laws and community. And so when we look at this memo, which is about controlling things and letting things go, we're going to look at the spiritual law this morning of non-resistance and the spiritual law of love and of acceptance. Basically, the law of non-resistance says that whatever you resist persists. Yeah? When we resist something, when we fight something, we end up giving it energy and we end up giving it power, and of course then it ends up getting bigger. And we can see this in our war on terrorism. You know, we're hit, we hit, they hit, we hit, and it just keeps going, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it can become never ending. Or remember when we have the war on drugs, you know, I mean, did that solve anything? No, not really. So when we fight something, when we argue against it, when we push against it, we end up giving it power, and we can see, again, that it begins to grow. So the question that we need to engage in is not what am I against, but rather what am I for? What am I in favor of? So the energy flows with it instead of against. In Taoism, this is called effortless ease, or Wei Wu Wei. You see it in Tai Chi, this movement, this effortless ease. And they compare this effortless ease with the idea or the power of water. Because water is fluid and it's flowing, and water can take on the form of whatever container it is put in, whether it be a bucket or a vase or a swimming pool. Water doesn't care. Water just becomes a part of whatever it is. And yet, water is such a powerful force that it carved the Grand Canyon, that it can make its way and move rock, that it can move mountains. The idea behind this principle of effortless action is that when you don't resist or work against the energies around you, but you actually work or flow with them, you become aligned and in equilibrium in such a way as to obtain a soft and invisible power. Water, non-resistance, a soft and invisible power. The truth is that some of the most fundamental things in life are effortless, like breathing. Do you have to think about breathing? You just breathe. Or what about our hearts beating? Our hearts are simply beating, eating and drinking and sleeping, our digestion, our temperature. These are all done without us having to control it or make it happen. It simply is. Accepting what is also part of the law of non-resistance, and it is the work of Byron Katie. And Byron Katie basically says that we end up suffering because we end up arguing with our reality, or we end up not accepting our reality. So for instance, you wouldn't expect your cat to start barking when you got home, nor would you expect your dog to start meowing, right? I mean, it's reality. It's just what it is. And yet how many of us find ourselves arguing with the reality that we're experiencing? What she says is, you know what? If you find yourself saying something like, you know, this really shouldn't have happened. This shouldn't have happened. She said, guess what? If it happened, then it happened. It was meant to happen. Or how many of us have said, you know, my life wasn't supposed to turn out this way. Well, guess what? It turned out this way, so it was supposed to turn out this way. When we look back, when we keep saying that things weren't supposed to be this way, I know that particularly when there's a tragedy, I know for me when something really horrible happens, particularly an accidental death, I can go over and over and over and over it, not that I can change it, but revisiting it. And that's the kind of thing, as she's saying, is just as difficult as it may be, it needs to be released and it needs to be let go. It's like the story of, Lot's wife when they were running from Sodom and Gomorrah. And the message that God gave was, don't look back. No matter what you hear or what's going on, don't look back. And what did she do? She turned around, she looks back, and she turns into a pillar of salt. And so it is in our lives. When we spend too much time looking back, what happens? We crystallize. We cease to move forward. We get stuck. I heard somebody say once that you can look back, but don't stare. Byron Katie said there's 3 types of business: my business, your business, and God's business. And the truth is that in holding on to, myself and what I can do, what you can do for yourself, that's our business, yeah? But when I'm trying to control your business, then not so good. Or controlling God's business. She said, much of our stress comes from mentally living out of our own business. When I think, hey, you need to get a job, I want you to be happy, you should be on time, you need to take better care of yourself, well then I am in your business. She said, when I'm worried about earthquakes, floods, war, or when I will die, well then I'm in God's business. So the truth is we can't control other people. We can't control the world. And truthfully, how many of us actually control ourselves all that well? Really. And so the idea is to release and let go and to not control. And is that not what a 12-step program is all about? Right? It's about surrendering. What is the Serenity Prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So we're releasing control and trying to make things happen the way we think they should. The truth is that our thoughts and our feelings are like clouds that are going by. And what happens is we attach ourselves to a specific thought or a specific way something should be. And you can't hold on to a thought or a feeling in any more way that you can a cloud, because it's fleeting. The sky is the open mind, if you will, and it's just moving. So we need to, in our spiritual practice, to kind of just watch it go by. Jesus said it this way. He said, resist not evil, the law of non-resistance. Resist not evil. And he said, if someone hits you on the right cheek, well then turn to him your left. Now, I don't think Jesus is being codependent here or an enabler, or into sadism and masochism. I mean, a case could be made for that, I guess. But what he's saying is turn the other cheek. In other words, look at this situation from a different perspective. If you're used to looking at it from here, well, then look at it from there and be like water and be willing to flow with what's happening in the movement, in the direction that it's going. So part of non-resistance then is acceptance. And acceptance really is love's first act. When we are fully accepted, I believe that there's this power that we can do anything when we feel truly unconditionally loved and accepted, not only for ourselves, but for each other and how we feel about ourselves. I think probably the most common way that we're able to connect like this is with a newborn baby, yeah? When you hold a newborn baby, you can see that unlimited potential. You can see that Spirit of God in them so clearly, and you're just there. You'll get up in the middle of the night. You'll do whatever it takes to totally support this child. Acceptance, not only of one another and community and family, but acceptance also means that I accept myself totally, that you accept yourself totally. And sometimes it's easier to accept other people than it is to accept oneself. Jim Rosemergy was our speaker at our conference this last week out in Oregon, and he used to be the president of Unity School, and he said that imagine, if you will, in this idea of acceptance, that you're at a banquet, and the guest is you in all your different forms. So you show up at the banquet as your happy self, your joy-filled self, your singing self, but you're also your crabby self, and maybe your mean self, or the shame and the guilt self, because we have all these different masks, we have all these different parts of ourselves, and yet we put some of them aside, they can't come out and play, and only some of us get to come. He says, have a banquet and invite it all and accept it all. And for me, this is so illustrated in Rumi's poem, The Guest House. This is what he is speaking about total acceptance. He said, this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Bring them into the banquet. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. And be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Acceptance. Acceptance is love's first act. We call it all in. We bring it all in. I think that love and acceptance is also the key to dissolving difficulties in our lives. So I had a dream a couple of months ago that sort of illustrated this point that I want to share with you. I dreamed I was at an amusement park, and I'd been on a roller coaster, and I just got off the roller coaster, and as I was walking down the path, all of a sudden there were about 20 zombies that were coming after me. And you know zombies, you can't really kill them, they're not really dead. And they all had knives, and they were going to stab me with the knives. Now I was alive, so I thought, well, they could actually kill me. So I thought, well, how? And it was a narrow path, and I had to go in that direction. I couldn't go back the other way. And I thought, how am I going to handle these zombies? Somebody gave me a big cleaver knife. And I thought, okay, so this will work. I can defend myself. And as the zombies were coming at me, I just started slicing here and there, and they didn't get me, and I was like Jackie Chan. I was great. I was like, off comes a head and off comes an arm, and just, I was miraculous in the way that I was able to just destroy, and I got them all. I destroyed all the zombies, and I walked through, and it's like, well, that wasn't so hard, that was easy. And then the path ended, and there was the roller coaster again. And I thought, all right, I guess I have to get on this. So I got on the roller coaster, went around, got off, came back down the path, and guess who's standing there again? All 20 zombies were back to life. Well, they were zombies. Of course they came back to life. And so they're coming at me again with the knives, and I see the cleaver, and I'm like, all right, I don't think this is going to work. I think that I could get the cleaver, I could do this again, but then I'm going to get back on the roller coaster, and I'm going to come back again. And I'm going to do this again and again and again forever. I was stuck in this loop. So as they were coming toward me, I looked down, and on the ground I saw an 8x10 photograph of a young woman. And I don't know if it was my daughter or who it was, but I picked it up, and there were words written across it, and it said, loving kindness and compassion. And this picture held that energy. It was like this, it had this energy in it. So I simply picked it up, I turned it around, and as they were coming at me with their knives, I just held up the picture to show them. And this energy was coming off of it, and as each zombie looked at it, they just disappeared into smoke, and they were gone. And the path opened up, no more roller coaster, I was free. So I think that this illustrates really love and acceptance, compassion and kindness, and the law of non-resistance, because you see something coming at you and you fight it, and in the dream, knives, maybe it's, I'm going to cut you with my cleverness or something, I don't know, but how we meet these things, and we meet these things, and we meet these negative experiences, and they get bigger, and if they don't get bigger, they come back again and again and again, and yet love dissolves all things. Jim Rosemergy shared a story about a woman who came to him for counseling, and she needed to lose 70 pounds. And he said to her, you know what? It doesn't matter if you gain 10 pounds or you lose 100. You are still a child of God. You are still a spiritual being, and that really is all that matters. He had left the church at that time, and he said a year later, he came back to visit, and she called him and she said, I would like to meet with you because I've lost 70 pounds. So they met, and he said, so how did you do that? What did you do? And she said, when you said to me that it didn't matter whether I gained 10 or lost 100, she says, when you said that to me, I felt totally accepted. And once I felt totally accepted, she says, I didn't do anything. The weight just came off. Imagine what you could do when you're accepted. Isn't it amazing what you can do when you feel absolutely accepted? And who are those people in your life that have supported and accepted you? I've always felt accepted by my mom. I was very lucky to have an incredible mother. And when I would come to her with some crazy idea about something I was going to do, she'd say, that sounds great. Go ahead, do it, have fun. Just call me when you get back to town or, wherever. But I felt like she gave me wings so that I could fly. The other thing my parents did for me is they always had a place for me in their home. Now, I'd never ever wanted to go back and live with them again. But I knew that if I fell, they would catch me. And as a result of knowing that I would be caught from falling, I never fell. I never needed them. So imagine what you can do when you are accepted, when we accept each other, but also when we accept ourselves. So in community and in the world, we tend to wear masks, yeah? We tend to wear a lot of different masks. And I invite you, as we go through this year together in community, I invite you to put them down. Because you know what? You don't have to be perfect. And you don't have to be right. You don't have to do it right. The truth is, we are all spiritual beings, and we all have the Spirit of God within us. And that's what we're here to see. So if you remember when we started this process of community, and I said, we're going to kind of join in and do a few things here together once in a while. So today is one of those days. And what I would like you to do, and I'm going to have you, it may just feel for you like an intellectual exercise, and that's okay. What's important is that the words are being spoken. So I'm going to demonstrate it first. The question is that I'm going to ask you, and this was from our conference last week, that I'm going to ask you is, will you accept me just as I am? With all my faults and flaws, will you accept me just as I am? And I would like you to say, we accept you just the way you are. So let me ask again. Will you accept me just the way I am? All right, so now what I'd like you to do is to find a partner, and we're going to say this to each other. Now, I know that some of you are sitting next to your friends, your relatives, your partners, and it'll be fairly easy. Some of you don't know the person sitting next to you, and you're like, oh boy, what is this? You are also free not to participate. You can remain seated. But I'm going to ask you to join in because the words are powerful. And again, they may just seem intellectual right now, but I invite you to step into it. So if you would please stand and turn to somebody next to you. Find a partner. And look around. Judy? Yeah, you're headed in the right direction because there's 4 of them there. Okay, decide which one of you is going to go first. Does anybody need a partner that wants one? All right, coming to a place of, do you want a partner? You have a partner? You have a partner. Okay. All right, looking into each other's eyes, deciding who's going to go first. The question that you ask is, will you accept me just as I am? And the answer is, I accept you just the way you are. Okay, ask the question. And now if you ask the question, now switch. And then please sit down once again. Thank your partner. See, you just made a friend. Okay, there's a second part to this, and I think it's an even bigger part. If you would close your eyes for a moment. Will you accept yourself just as you are? Sit with that. You know all your flaws more than anybody else. Who cares? Will you accept yourself just the way you are? I accept myself just the way I am. Affirm that. I accept myself just the way I am. Really honor that. For you are a precious child of God. You are a spiritual being. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So God had an addendum to his memo. P.S. If life happens to deliver a situation to you that you cannot handle, do not attempt to resolve it yourself. Kindly put it in the SFGTB box, or something for God to do box, and I will get to it in my time, not yours. In other words, let go of control. Let go of being in other people's business. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. Like water, it is non-resistant and it takes many forms, yet it carved the Grand Canyon. Acceptance is love's first act. It can even dissolve zombies. Thank you. Okay. So we